Welcome to a Tuna Grades podcast series, If I'm Being Honest, with your host, Nishani Jayawardena, founder of Tuna Grade.
Um, and I'm Himgauri Alve, founder and creative mind behind Tessellations and a fellow big leap taker.
So today, our topic of discussion is the weight of home or defining home.
Exactly. And as this topic is really close to the both of us because we have moved countries and today we are here. And again, we don't know what our tomorrow is going to look like, but what home means to you today and what it meant. So yeah, this is the conversation that people usually don't end up having. And I really thought like because we're two expats living in a different country, I don't know how it feels to you like when you moved and you moved here for college, right? How was your experience? Like when I ask you what is home, what would your answer be today?
Yeah, in fact, I'm so glad that we're having this conversation because when you think about home, some people call it a location, some people refer to it as a feeling, and a lot of the times it's about the people. So for me, I'm not really sure if I understood what I had done when I left Sri Lanka, that I was leaving home as I knew it, the people, the feelings, the sounds, the smells, like I was leaving all of that and I didn't truly understand what that meant because I had
Uh-huh.
never experienced leaving home. We take we go on vacation and stuff, but
Right.
I I have met other people who have traveled throughout their early childhood. Like they have not lived in one particular place. They have moved every few years. And for some, it's very traumatizing because they have never felt connected to a single place.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, at that time, before I came to the US, I was very much connected to home and I knew what it meant to lay down roots in one location because I had
Right.
lived in the one house for many, many years. And
Mm-hmm.
then I moved to the US and all of a sudden home changed for me. The way home looked, what home even meant. For a long time, I don't even think I felt at home. I think I was just
Right.
surviving. And then I realized maybe home does not need to be a location
Mm-hmm.
because it has always been a location for me. Maybe home just needs to be people, like the people
Yeah.
that I'm around, who is talking to me and who makes me feel like I am home, meaning I feel safe and all that. Over the years, I've moved to many states since I've left Sri Lanka.
Mm-hmm.
Over the years, obviously, the definition of home has taken a whole new meaning for me because I have a home in Jersey if I wanted to for a little bit, right? When I'm with
Right.
some of my friends, it feels like I'm back at home. And then I have like home in Florida where I lived there and I can kind of resonate with people there and the culture there. I know it's all changing and it's not the same, but I can still resonate with it. And now I'm in Michigan and Michigan is a whole new definition of home. I think now I really
Mm-hmm.
feel like home, like I genuinely resonate with Michigan being home base for me because a lot of
Right.
people are here and I have built some foundations here. So yeah, I'm definitely excited for this topic. I think this is much needed. And I was
Right.
curious about you. You've also experienced a change of home and having to transition out of your comfort zone and starting all over again or
Mm-hmm.
starting doing things by yourself or for yourself. So what
Yeah.
about you? What do you think about home?
So for me, home, I'm just going to say in a word is evolving.
Mm,
I initially, like the first time that I left my home, I was 10. I went to boarding school and I
yeah.
spent majority of my time there. And as a 10-year-old, I didn't know what the meaning of home was. I didn't understand what was happening.
Mm,
But I would say that um, that move or that space at the age of 10 when I moved gave me a lot of independence,
mm,
um, made me think on my own. Because again, we are brought up in like a lot of brown culture, and parents end up coddling their kids a lot.
yeah.
Like you're not allowed to take decisions on their own. And
Right.
like again, for me, I say evolving is for this reason because when I started at the age of 10 and then at 16, I moved to Bombay. And again, my hometown is a small town in um, in Maharashtra state in India.
Yeah.
Again, like
Yeah.
from there, moving to Panchgani, which was my boarding school, and then from there, moving to Bombay.
Okay.
Bombay has always been like a known space for me because over the years I've been traveling, going back, coming in, and that was like a good move for me. But
Mm.
I always felt I left a piece of mine in my boarding school, right? Like that was always there. Like the first time I ever felt anything was home was boarding school for me. And a lot of people have different opinions about boarding school, and I'm
Yeah.
from a different school of it completely. I'm always going to be grateful for what it gave me. The friends that I have those friends till date. We
Mm.
met at the age of 10. There was nothing to us. And at the age of 30 and 35, we're still together. We still are equally involved in each other's lives. So, yeah, like that is something that I got like at the age of 10. That was
Yeah.
my home. And that is always going to be my home.
Wow.
And at the age of 20, I moved to Dubai. My move to Dubai gave me a lot of clarity, I'm going to say. A lot of clarity in terms of who I am as an individual, what this means, what it means to adult. Because at the age of 20, you start taking up smaller responsibilities, bigger responsibilities, how you're going to deal with your family and friends. And
Yeah.
then that became my home. And then from the age of 20 to almost 30, 32, I was there. And at a certain point, I thought that this was going to be my forever home. And as
Mm.
I started getting into that zone of like adapting and making that place as my home,
Yeah.
I had a whirlwind in my life, which came into like, with my husband. And then my move to US was like kind of solidified. And at that point was the first time I felt the pain of leaving home. Because
Mm. Mm.
again, Dubai, living there as an expat life, I can never go back to that place, what I call home,
Yeah.
right? Like what I called home, what were my things, what was my space. Because now, having said that, how many ever times I've moved, I still know if I go back to my small town, I still have a home. I know the familiarity. If I still go back to my boarding school, I still get to see those things. I still get to see those spaces. But
Yeah.
then when I was leaving Dubai was the first time that I realized I can never go back to my stuff. I can never go back to my space. I can never
Ooh.
have that feeling.
Yeah.
And that is what leaving my home in Dubai meant for me. And again, was I sad at that point leaving that space? Yes, I was. But then today I'm not. Like Michigan has really welcomed me with all its glory. And yeah, everybody had a lot of things to say about Michigan that it's going to be difficult, you're going to have rough winters.
Right.
And yes, that is the fact. But who is it simple for, right? Like
Oh, true.
nowhere, none of my transitions were simple on me or easier on me, but it made me the person that I am. Leaving that space behind gave me a lot of clarity, gave me a lot of space today,
Yeah.
understanding of who I am as a person, because leaving Dubai also made me a different person that I am today. And is that the best version of me? Yes, I feel like I'm evolving. And with the concept of home, also I'm evolving, right?
Yeah.
Like for
Yeah.
me, home is not one place. And now that you said that, one thing that stuck to me, I think home is people around you that make you feel like home. And I'm going to say that I got that in Michigan as soon as I landed, because you all made me feel really welcome. You all made me feel that I was not out of space, or I
Yeah.
was home and I needed to be here. And like, we were waiting for you. Like I had that sort of a feeling when I came to Michigan. And I think that kind of, I'm going to say, it helped me settle down really quick, because all
Mm.
of these transitions have been in like different phases of my life. And I'm going to say the most that I was prepared for was my move to Michigan. Before
Yeah.
that, they were all at a different age and stage in my life. But till date, I hold a piece of every space that I've been through. I do have good memories. And again, having said that, the next time that we visit India, if one place that I would like to take my husband, or like, the space that you would want to show when you're growing up, it's always
Yeah.
going to be my boarding school.
Oh, I see. Yeah. I mean, I think something unique that you're bringing to this conversation is you moved within the same country that you belong to, right?
Uh-huh.
you grew up in a small town in India at this part of India, and India is also so big. Like, I
Yeah.
think people often forget there's multicultures within the culture of India.
Yeah.
And so it's almost like you got to experience multiculture like in microcultures within a bigger platform just by moving in the same country. Now, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
the move to Dubai might have been a huge shift because that sounds like it was your adult move,
Mm-hmm.
right? But at 10 years old, you would not have known what was going on. And you're right, people do have a lot of thoughts about boarding school, and I've always perceived it as being a negative thing. Like, it means that your parents were like, you don't belong here with us. You
Uh-huh.
need to go be disciplined, or we can't deal with you. So we want to get you away and whatever. But that may not always be the case. Sometimes, in your case, it sounds like it helped you connect with people and build relationships that are so strong and
Definitely.
foundational because of how young you were. But I'm sure, as a 10-year-old, if we asked your 10-year-old version, how did you feel about being asked to move out of your home, right? The comfort of things that you know into the space where there's like a lot of variables, a lot of distracting sounds that could grab your attention because a boarding school is with other girls and there's
Yes.
teachers and there's rules, there's times and timelines and schedules. Like, it must have been super different and weird to transition out.
Honestly, I'm going to say that it wasn't. I was the one who pushed my parents to send me to boarding school.
Really?
I
Wow.
was one of that kid. So it was due to one of our family friends that I knew about this school.
Okay.
And I wouldn't see myself growing up in this small town, right? Like I always felt like fish out of water, like things were different for me and I wouldn't just connect 100%. And as you said, like my first move when I experienced different cultures, when I experienced people like not talking to you in your mother tongue, right? Like
Oh,
Marathi
yeah,
is my
yeah,
mother tongue. Again, in India, we do have like different languages that are spoken in different
yeah.
states. Having said that, like when I moved to Sanjeevan, like my boarding school for the first time, is when I realized that to get your point across, you need clarity. And
Mm,
it's not just your mother tongue that's going to help you. You have to
okay.
learn another language. You have to learn how people kind of learn to communicate. And then again, as I was a 10-year-old, a bunch of other 10-year-old girls with me,
That's
we were
true.
all learning how to navigate these things together. And it kind of, I don't
Hmm.
know, at that point, I feel like we all are fearless and we are
Yeah,
ready to take those steps or those jumps that are required in our life. Like right now, as a 34-year-old, if I have to think about it, I don't know. I think I was just the happiest person to move to boarding school. Did I miss my parents? Yes,
of
I did.
course. Yeah.
The first call that I ever had with my mom, which was after like almost around 2 months, my parents were allowed to call you. Me and my mom just cried on that call.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
I am so happy that that place gave me a lot. It gave
Yeah.
me a forever home. It gave me a feeling of belonging somewhere. It
Mhm.
gave me a lot of friends. It gave me my independence. Like I
Yeah.
can navigate through a lot of my things today is because of that. It's because of my dad home. It's
Yeah.
because of that space. And I'll always be grateful for my parents. Being a single child, for them to kind of say that, hey, listen, you can go ahead and live your life there. I mean, it was really difficult on them, but that is one thing that I am really, really grateful to my parents that they were not selfish or they didn't keep me for it. Oh my God, we only have one child.
Mm,
And I know how difficult it was for them financially, emotionally, in all of the aspects, but that's the biggest gift I have today because it shaped my personality.
yeah.
Today if I'm thrown into a different space, I can easily navigate my life. Like it doesn't make me, yeah, those initial discomforts are there,
Yeah.
but that doesn't stop me from exploring. That doesn't
Yeah.
stop me from having conversations or learning about somebody. I'm always going to be grateful for that move, that home.
Yeah, that's surprising to hear that it was really you pushing for boarding school. It sounds, as an only child, maybe that's another thing that also shaped your ways of connecting with people because sometimes only children get like no exposure to an
Uh-huh.
ongoing relationship with somebody else who is the same age. Maybe you'll have play dates and stuff, but it's not the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
as, for example, when you're in boarding school, it's like you have sisters now, right? You have
Yeah.
people, whether you like all of them or not, it's like you have people that you now have to work with. I think I remember you telling me a story about this girl that you were constantly in
Uh-huh.
conflict with in boarding school, but now somehow you have maintained a friendship and both of you continue to maintain a friendship with each other. And that's home, right? She
Yes,
is a representation of home for you from a time where it sounded like at that time it just wasn't a good fit for the two of you.
it wasn't like going back to the stories, yes, like at that point in the world, she was like literally hating on me every single time. But we all had to do was like just leave school, get out of it. And as
Yeah.
we moved to Bombay, like she was from Bombay. So as we moved to Bombay, somehow we connected and we have been friends till date.
Yeah.
Like I do have two friends. Every time that I've gone to India, I have never left the country without meeting them.
Sure.
Every single visit, I have met them every single time. And I feel like that brings you back to your base, right? Like
Yeah.
that brings you the feeling of home. And
Yes.
here you're talking about those kids. I'm going to say, like, we were literally kids when we met. We were not even teenagers when we actually met at that point in our life. But holding that friendship in our 20s and 30s, it has been evolving. We have seen each other going through those kiddie love stories to being married today, to some of us having kids. And,
Yeah.
it's just been like a different journey. Are we all on the same page? Do we all feel that feeling of home? Yes, we do.
Yeah.
And whenever we meet anywhere, I think that comes very strong. And I have no words to kind of explain that space to you because I'm sure like for everybody like that space they hold somewhere, right? Like for you, there would be that one place that you can wherever you go back, you just feel like yourself again.
Mm,
For me, if I could go back to something, you paid a certain thing or whatever, you could go back to that one space. It would always be those 5 years that I had in that school. What
It's
about you? Do you have a space where you go back to?
That's actually a really fascinating question because as you were telling me how you feel in certain environments and how it's helped you, I can't say that I have. Over the years, I have definitely not been able to say one place has that effect on me because there was a time in my early teenage years, like I think a reason why I decided to leave Sri Lanka. Yes, I think deep down I knew I didn't belong there.
Mhm.
In fact, I have felt more at home in the United States
Right,
compared to what I felt in Sri Lanka, but that's also because I had a lot of conflict. There was a lot of drama going on in Lanka right before I left. Like I had conflict with family, like people that I would call home, right?
Mhm.
All of a sudden, not my parents and my brother, but my extended family from my dad's side, like I experienced a lot of jealousy, a lot of attacks, and
Right,
a lot of, I don't know, I guess I would call it betrayal, ultimate betrayal of like family members who I thought were supposed to be on my side. And I
right,
thought they were supposed to protect me and help me because I grew up with them. They helped raise me and my brother. And then finding out that they really didn't care about me and that they had different intentions and they had ulterior motives and it was very manipulative.
right.
I think having learned that, I was very I think that betrayal really upset me as a person at that time. Like I felt so deeply disconnected from everything that I allegedly thought was home,
Right.
right? Because home was all those people, all the family. And all of a
Mm.
sudden it's like none of them even mattered. And I thought, oh, that meant at that time that I felt more alone because there wasn't that support from home.
Yeah.
I do think, at least I know for a fact that even my mom agrees with me that the reason I left and I have never chosen to go back to Sri Lanka is because of the family dynamics and everything that happened. But in reality, I believe all things happen for a reason and they had to help me go through that so that I would discover what actual home feels like because now I have chosen family members. I don't
Mhm.
connect with my actual blood relatives as closely anymore, but
Right.
I have found a family that I call home. And to
Mm-hmm.
me, those are the people. So I have like a friend in, as I mentioned, in Florida. I have a friend in Toronto that I've known from Sri Lanka. They've traveled and they've started their lives and they have different lives. But every time we speak,
Uh-huh.
whether it's a phone call or we're meeting in person, I'm reminded of the time when I used to be that girl with that
Right.
friendship.
Uh-huh.
And for me, that's home. That's how I have found a way to ground myself, is
Right.
connecting with the people that continue to love me throughout. And there
Right.
were some, like one or two family members from a sea of many who did not really care either way. There was a couple people who really believed in me, and I still
Uh-huh.
remember them, right? So go home or when I talk to them, I'm remembering this is what it felt like for me to feel at home because I feel safe with these people, and now I can tell who is really there for me versus who is just kind of there. And a home is supposed to represent so many things because it couldn't
Exactly.
be a place for me. At least I have not found it to be a place. It has always been more people for me and the feeling. It's always been the feeling like, okay, I feel at rest in Michigan, in Detroit. I've been living in Detroit for about 6 years now, a little bit
Mm-hmm.
more than 6 years. And I feel pretty at ease. I feel at home here,
Right.
but I believe that's also because of the people that I have met, because Detroit alone would not have made me feel at home
Right.
immediately. But with time, I found individuals that I can connect with. So it is. I remember us talking about this. It's like whiplash. It's emotional whiplash. Like
Mm-hmm.
you're in one place sometime, you're in another place sometime, and your
Mm-hmm.
environment changes. Not everybody's okay with adjusting to changing environments like
Uh-huh.
that. And that's why some people are like, I'm a homebody. I want to stay
Yes.
and stay indoors and I want to stay at home and not do anything. I As I am aging, I have actually felt more like a homebody. There are
Uh-huh.
times when I just want to, like, for instance, the room that I'm in now is my home. Like, it has everything that I need.
Exactly.
It has the comfort of everything that I'm looking for. So for me, it's like, okay, this is home. Maybe in another 5 years, this may not look the same anymore, and I may be
Right.
in somewhere new. So I have learned to almost detach from a location and rather just keep holding on to the feeling or the people and
Yeah.
trying to maintain those relationships, you know?
Yeah. I'm going to definitely like say yes to all that you said because I felt that pain when I was leaving my space in Dubai.
Mm,
Again, I just got that space right before COVID and I lived there for 3 to 4 years before I decided to make my move to US.
okay.
And when I was like kind of giving away the stuff from the house and I knew I was never going to see that, it felt really like painful to do that, right? And then in that space, I realized that it's actually the people that I go back to and that are going to make me feel like home. And it's not that those things. And I think COVID made me a different individual again. It
Mm,
made me connect to my home because before that, I think I was that proper corporate employee worker who spent most of her time outside the house.
I see.
Like work,
Yeah.
work, 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 work. Just come back home to sleep, kind of change, shower, and go back again to the office. Like that
Wow.
was pretty much my life. Got some free time, went out partying or, just catching up with friends. I
Yeah.
was never home. I understood the importance of having your space. And as you said, once we start growing up, that becomes a calming factor, right? Like come home just makes me calmer now. I'm in my space, I'm in my zone, and now I'm ready to take on the world again, right? Like recharge moment, and I'm like, okay, now I can take over. So home
Exactly.
actually is being really like different things at different spaces. I'm going to say a graduate or as somebody who wanted to work, like where I was going through with all of this situation. Coming to Michigan, I am realizing what it is to navigate together with another person. So, not in my one phase have I had transitional moment. You know what I mean? Like if Nitesh moved in with me in Dubai and then we kind of started living, probably that would be like a different journey for me. But no, it was
Sure.
like a hard stop. And when I actually started living with my husband, it was in Michigan. So, like
Mm,
my homes are my different identities completely.
Oh,
because
yeah.
me with like me as a 15 like 10-year-old to 15-year-old is a completely different person versus from when I was in college, when I was in Mumbai. There again, I was living like we called it the word in India that was used was paying guest, but like I was sharing this
Paying
house with
guests.
this
Yeah.
lady. Yeah. So I did that for really long. I was a different person then because I just come out of a very safe space, right? Like my boarding school was like you always had somebody to walk with you, somebody to guide you. That was a constant. There was you knew there was somebody watching over, right? Like every single time. Then you come to Mumbai,
Yeah.
you're learning things on your own, and I kind of learned Mumbai, and then I went to Dubai. So like
Okay.
there was never like a smooth transition. Like I had to leave my friends behind, move to the next one, leave my friends behind, move to the next one. And that's what happened to me when I even moved to Michigan. Like, yes, left every single thing. And now this is home. And
Yeah.
again, I don't know tomorrow if 100% Michigan is my home, right? Like for now, yes, it is my home. You kind of start settling in, but life can have different plans for everybody. And that is something that I've learned through a little bit of my later in 20s. And now that I'm, like as we are growing up, that it's mostly people. Whenever I
Yeah.
talk to somebody, I know that I go back to that person of me. If I miss that version of me, all I have to do is call somebody from that phase. It's just everything comes back. My
Yeah.
grounding comes back. I just had another question for you. Do you ever feel guilty for being away from home?
Yeah, that's such a good question. I think so. I wanna add something to what you were saying earlier,
Uh-huh.
because right now I live in a home. The physical home that I'm living in is over 100 years old,
Uh-huh.
and this home has seen a lot of different people and
Right.
come and go over the 100 years, right? And I'm pretty sure this home will outlive me if the city doesn't demolish it or whatever. Living in a place where the physical location has no value if it's not filled with people in it, right?
Agree.
Like when we moved into this home, originally, me and my partner, like it was so dirty. It had not been lived in for many years and it took a lot of cleaning. And we're still constantly cleaning this house because of how much has been left
Uh-huh.
behind. But then
Right.
we walked in and it was so empty. And recently, my partner and I, we moved spaces in the house where we lived at. Our bedroom
Right.
changed, our living room changed because we are
Uh-huh.
renovating this home. And now that we're in a new space, it's almost like I'm in a new home, even though I'm in the same home, same physical location, just in a different place. So it's like, I think
Uh-huh.
this conversation about what home means, multiple cultures, multiple identities, like my identity that I had when I first moved into this house has changed dramatically since I've been here for the
Yeah.
last, I think, 4 years or so. I've lived in this house now. And so coming back to our conversations about, feeling like what do you do when you leave something behind, right? So your question was guilt. And I think we
Uh-huh.
both can, yeah, I'm sure you'll agree with me on this, but my parents are probably the narrators, the communicators of guilt. I think the shame and guilt, my mom will randomly throw out a comment saying, well, you've left us,
Uh-huh.
or you decided to leave, like I lost my daughter. And like she will make these comments, and I know she is grieving the loss of not having her daughter nearby,
Right.
and it took me a long time to not take it personally and like be to sit in that sadness. Obviously, when I
Right.
first left Sri Lanka and moved to the US, I was in Jersey. It took a lot. Like I left my dog, I left my brother. I wasn't even focusing on them as much. And my brother had to adjust not having me overnight,
Exactly.
like my parents had to adjust not having me. And for me, I had to adjust not having any of them anymore. And that definitely made me feel like, what did I do? Especially
Right.
as time went on, I realized, wow, I'm just not going to be the same person anymore. Like I can never
Uh-huh.
go back to the girl that was living with her parents and brother and dog and having her life there. Now I had traveled like thousands of miles away. I could never be that same person who didn't know all of this existed, right? The world opened up
Exactly.
to me when I came to the US. So I still experience guilt. I definitely have my moments where I wish I could communicate to my parents that, hey, this is really good for me. This is really better for me than what I think Sri Lanka could offer. And
Right.
again, I can't judge Sri Lanka. I have not given it the opportunity as an adult.
Right.
I've only given it an opportunity as a child, and because of my family's betrayal, I never really gave anybody else the opportunity to make me feel at home. I just left. I
Right.
was like, so I do sit with that, and
Uh-huh.
obviously now it's a lot better, and I understand that my decision to leave was actually for my benefit, and I'm okay
Uh-huh.
with that now. I've made my peace. Yeah, every time I go home, the guilt always comes back. It's like my mom or dad, especially my mom, will say something, and I know she's not intending to cause me any pain. She's just communicating how different it feels when I'm with her for
Right.
like 3 weeks, maybe a month at a time in the year. And then I
Uh-huh.
leave, right? And then she's
Right.
like, whoa, she gets to experience me and she feels at home because her son and daughter are now in the house with her,
Right.
and
Uh-huh.
then she loses that home feeling again and she has to adjust. So do
Right.
I, right? Like you and I
Yeah.
have had to adjust not having our parents. Like there's a lot of both of our friends, most of our friends have family members who are an hour away, 30 minutes away, and they talk to each other, they visit each other. And we don't really get that experience because for us, it's a longer trek to go home, to,
Yeah.
to go home to our parents' home. And so, yeah, I'm curious, what about you? How do you navigate the guilt? Because you are fresh into this country, which means you are from at least in Dubai, you were closer to India.
Exactly. I think so I feel all that. I used to not feel as much guilt when I was in Dubai is because anything, even if somebody got married, right? Like I could make a quick trip out of it. Like just take like a flight out for like 3, 4 days and like it's just a three
Yeah.
and a half hours flight. It doesn't mean like I had to do a lot, right? Like just take 2 days of work, weekend, I could just go attend a
Yeah.
wedding, come back, be there whenever I needed, and it was very easy. Right? At that point I didn't feel as if I left India for really long or I left India for a bigger time, and I always saw that growing with me, right? Like I saw even India kind of growing along the same lines because I kept visiting that often. Like I would visit India like at least I'm going to say 2 to 3 times in a year.
Okay.
COVID was the only time that I visited India after like I'm going to say a year and a half. But
Oh, yeah.
apart from that, in a year, at least 2 to 3 trips was my common thing that and that's when I never felt the guilt. But the days since I took the step and moved further away, yes, I do feel my parents are aging.
Yeah.
How do I feel about this move and how do I want to navigate with it? There is a little bit of guilt, but I'm going to say that again, my parents make it a little bit easier on me. Yes, they
Sure.
do tell me things, but they understand why I did what I did because, I mean, when I met my husband, I mean, at that point, I was really done with finding all of these entire things. And then again, in India, Indian culture, we go through like arranged marriage kind of a situation wherein they kind of introduce you to boys. And I was kind of getting done with the space, right? Like, and after really long, I met somebody that kind of made me feel home.
Yeah.
And again, just as a small thing, on our wedding rings, we have something that is written is "You will always be my home." So
Mm.
that's what we have written to one another on our wedding rings, and it's engraved. So yeah, like when that feeling kind of kicked in, even my parents kind of supported. So the guilt is obviously going to be there, and it's also a little bit attached to the single child guilt because you cannot
Oh,
be with
yeah.
them
Yeah.
every single step, or you can be with them emotionally, financially, or here or there. And I'm a girl child, right? Like there are those stages that you go through life that you have to learn how to navigate through that. But yeah, they have been my silent supporters throughout. And now my in-laws are in US, so I do end up meeting them a lot, so I don't feel like I don't have family around.
Sure.
And I do have a lot of my second cousins, and it's a lot. Like I have to pick and choose when I go meet them. It is a lot, and it's a little bit overwhelming, I'm gonna say. But yeah, like slowly as I'm settling in, I'm kind of learning how to reconnect with them and have a bond.
Mhm.
So coming this far also, I don't feel like very alone, but I'll always carry the guilt of not being close to my parents.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I mean, I'm sure traveling from Detroit to Sri Lanka, Colombo, Sri Lanka is a long journey and it is
Uh-huh.
pretty exhausting and, it's such a unique thing to get used to, but obviously it's home. Like Sri Lanka will always have a part of me since we've been talking about an identity left behind. I am
Right.
not the same Nishani in Sri Lanka. It's like I almost have to shift a little bit to adapt to the culture. And
Exactly.
that's me adjusting to home, right? It's like, that's right. People in Sri Lanka do not understand some of the experiences and the ways that I'm thinking about things in the US. So I have to remember that and
Uh-huh.
almost adjust. So that topic, me thinking about that has brought me closer to a question about rebuilding your roots and like creating traditions and integrating traditions into your everyday life, right? In your current life, how do you bring, and I believe the two of us were in front of a panel discussion at an event a couple weeks ago, a couple months ago now, where
Yes.
there was a group of immigrant women, business owners in their own way,
Uh-huh.
founders, entrepreneurs who were sharing about their experiences of having figured out how to survive and thrive in
Yep.
a new environment when home is so far away for them, right? And
Exactly.
something that we talked about was how do they bring a piece of home with them
Uh-huh.
to wherever they are now. So, like, what traditions? How do you integrate it? You come from a pretty historical culture, like
Yep.
Hinduism, like, there is so much history in that religion, and you have to bring it here. Not,
Yes.
but then you have to adapt. I know with like family, they have expectations. Like, I'm curious about how you manage to integrate if you've brought anything from the early life
Uh-huh.
experiences that you've had and how you're keeping them alive, the traditions.
So I'm gonna say that again, I don't follow it to the T or 100% the way I would have done it if I was in India.
Yeah.
But there are bits and pieces that I would bring in. Like we would kind of go celebrate Holi somewhere. So Holi is the festival of color. Again, like Ganesh Chaturthi, which is like the elephant head god festival that we have. I end up
Yes.
making those sweets and desserts and those kind of food in the house to be able to go back to that space, right? And why would I emphasize on making it? Is because it gives me a feeling of home.
Okay.
If I go out and kind of get it, it's not the same. So again, I learned, and again, I'm not the best chef, but all I've learned is the basic things that make me connect to home.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this was another thing that I had a conversation with my husband. I told him I'm not the best chef. I cannot cook all the international cuisines, but all I can do is make the proper Maharashtrian kind of food. Is because that grounds me in the moment. Like when you're
Okay.
having that entire, like a little bit of dal rice or
Yeah.
something that is very traditional to us, it gives me that peace. It gives me that joy. In those 2 seconds, I'm like, I feel hugged. And
Yeah.
food,
Yeah.
again, is a very, again, in that same panel, a
Yes.
lot of people spoke about how they bought their food with them. That kind
Yes.
of helped them ground easily, right? And I'm going to say that that was my biggest factor as well. Me and my husband, we come from the same, I'm going to say this like we come from the same state, Maharashtra, so we speak the same mother tongue.
Yeah.
And him and I still have like different experiences of being Maharashtrians as well. I was brought
Right.
up in a small town and he was brought up in America. So
Yes.
his thoughts are completely different. But one thing that we always bond over is food. And I'm going to say, like, that is one thing, that's how I have kept that part alive. And I feel I do that with my friends as well. I do that with you guys. I'm like, hey, I want you to try something very traditional from, like, where we come from. So here,
Yeah.
this is some curry that I would like you guys to experience. And this is something else that I've tried to make. And like, every festival I try to make something. I don't know if you remember, there was a sweet paratha kind of a thing once I gave it to
Yes.
you.
Yeah.
That
Yeah. You
was
did a
for
good job.
Holi. It's again a very traditional. dessert that you kind of make.
which
So
is
I
delicious.
do that in between. Exactly. So that kind of helps me ground. But yeah, I also wanted to understand from you. For me, this was possible is because this was my second move, and when I made this move, I was more conscious.
Yeah,
Um,
good point.
it
Yes.
happened a little bit later in my life, so I was more conscious with what I want to move and how I want to do this. I want
Okay.
to understand, like, when you came here as a college girl, like, I'm sure you must have missed a lot of those things. You saw your parents celebrating something, and you felt a part of you needed to be there. But I
There.
wish you could
Yeah.
be here. Like, there are those things. How did you navigate through those things?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's I think for the most part, I had to give up a lot of my traditional experiences from Lanka. So, like, I grew up with Buddhism and Catholicism. So,
Uh huh.
my mom is Catholic, my dad's Buddhist. So, I kind of had a combination effect of celebrations and traditions. And then
Right.
Sri Lanka has their own traditions for the culture that's outside of the religious traditions.
Right.
I have to agree with you on food. I think food has definitely brought me closer to home. I am sad that Michigan does not have a Sri Lankan restaurant. Like, there are
Yeah.
some Sri Lankans out here in Michigan, but it's not big enough. We're such a small community that it's not big enough for it to be a known thing for people to want to eat.
Mm-hmm.
In Toronto, when I was in Jersey, I had access to some Sri Lankan food because of Manhattan Island. I could travel to Manhattan Island, but
Right.
it was tough. Like, not being able to eat curry and rice for like months and years was really, really tough. I
Uh
didn't
huh.
even think about that when I left, because it's like, what? Chicken curry every day. Like, there's rice and there's bread and there's curry. Like,
Yeah.
that's every day when you're growing up. A different version of curry, but different versions are
Yeah.
still, all of them come down to a version of curry. And when I moved on campus, it was the cafeteria food, which was
Mm-hmm.
nice. It was okay, but it was like pizza, salad, and like, it was such a different exposure. In the beginning, I was excited because I had eaten rice and curry every day, that I was
Yeah.
like, yes, I have all this. And then eventually it started to fade, where I was like, if I really wanted to taste my mom's chicken curry, I wouldn't be able to. Like, I
Yeah.
can't. I just have to wait. So that was an adjustment that I didn't really prepare for, and I think I remember being really sad about that. I also experienced loss. Like, my dog passed away while I
Oh,
was in America. My
I'm so
grandmother passed
sorry.
away while I was in America. I had gone to visit 2 weeks before my grandmother passed, and then 2 weeks after she passed, my dog passed.
Oh
So
my
I
God.
was in the States, just like, but to me, it didn't even feel like they were gone because they've never been here in the US with
Exactly.
me, right? So it's like, oh, they're still alive because I'm the only one who's been
Mm-hmm.
here. But then when I went back home and then I realized they're actually gone. So there was disconnection like that. Like, if my parents were celebrating the Sinhalese New Year in April,
Mm-hmm.
I've given up on a lot of Sri Lanka based traditions and holidays because I have not really had a lot of the Sri Lankan community to join. And to
Right.
be honest, because of my family's betrayal, I was not trusting of Sri Lankans either. Gossip
Right.
travels really quick around brown people, and I did not want my freedom of choices in the United States to somehow affect my parents because of how
Mm.
people will perceive me. And you know how when people talk, they describe it very differently than
Mm-hmm.
what they're actually seeing, or they misunderstand. And not that any of it mattered, but I was very cautious about not connecting with more Sri Lankans because I knew news will travel fast.
Right.
And I've already, in while I was in Lanka, I already experienced a lot of people speaking poorly about my character, and a lot of them were my family. This is why I have that betrayal. So
Uh-huh.
sometimes that like, those experiences shaped it such a way that I think out of sadness, I'd given up a lot of the traditions. I'd given
Mm.
up a lot of things, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna forget Lanka completely.
Right.
Now, that was Jersey. Now, years later, I am bringing back some of those cultural things that I love. Like, my
Mm-hmm.
partner learned how to make Sri Lankan curry the way my mom makes it. When he traveled with me to Sri Lanka, he like stood in the kitchen with my mom and asked her questions and took down notes and was like, okay, what do you do next? And he has been able to recreate it here.
Uh-huh.
And this is another thing about me. I think I have so much trauma from having been raised to be like the perfect housewife that I
Oh my
absolutely
gosh.
despise cooking. I'm
Mm-hmm.
just not enjoying it. It's not
Yeah.
fun. I will eat, I will cook something if I have no choice. I will make myself something, but it's not enjoyable. And my partner will, like, he wants to look through a recipe, he wants to experience it, and he wants to like really connect with the meal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with connecting with the food after it's been cooked, not before. That process is not comfortable for me.
I'm just going to say that yes, he is really, really Miles
He's
is
a
a
good cook.
brilliant chef. Yeah,
Yeah.
I do have my list of things that I want him to make again. Like I go with it and I'm just like, hey.
Yeah, exactly. But
But
that's the only way that I was able to keep memories of home.
mhm,
I still do not really celebrate the Sri Lankan New Year in April. I do with my family. I'll send them a message, but I don't get to eat the traditional food that we eat there. And usually during the New Year, we share plates of food with our neighbors and friends and
right.
family, right? They send you a plate, you empty their plate and give them stuff of something from
Yeah.
yours, and then you share that plate. Like those cultural things, those traditions don't exist here. And so the way that I think I've done it is by just doing it with some friends. Like if we eat together, that's
Yes.
something I really admire. A tradition that I really like to hold on to is everybody sitting at the table and eating together and sharing a meal together and talking about the meal. My partner has cooked an entire Sri Lankan dish for one of my birthdays, and we invited like a whole bunch of friends, and we all ate Sri Lankan food so that I can introduce that to everybody and say,
Uh-huh.
like, by the way, this is how we will eat. And also, everybody has to eat with your hands so that we're really being traditional. It was little things
Right.
like that we did that I was able to keep some part of home. But in the early years, I think I abandoned home really quickly, because I didn't know how to make it fit.
Yeah. And honestly, I'm going to say it's not your fault, right? Like now you feel it is because now we have grown up, we are kind of reflecting back. We have a little bit of space to kind of hold to like kind of reflect back a little bit. But at that point, we were literally in the fight mode, right? Like we wanted to
Yeah.
do something with our life. We wanted to make something. And we were driven with our own career choices and with our own spaces where we wanted our life to be. But now
Yeah.
that we are in our 30s, we have realized that, okay, if we stop and reflect and see how we can have an equal blend of all of the worlds that we have stepped into and create our space
Yes.
with
Sure.
all of the people, like, sharing a meal, right? Like that, nothing bonds you like as good as like, like a plate full of food, right? That just starts the conversation. It makes you feel better. You're no longer angry and you're learning to grow in this conversation. You mentioned something with your mom, right? Like, I think our mothers are like that. And I think because of them, we have learned how not to go back to the kitchen and kind of cook and because they wanted things to be done a certain way. And I think even I held that for a while and I wouldn't. But again, being married, moved to US, I was just experimenting and I realized, okay, I am pretty decent at making a lot of these stuff. And I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
now I've started enjoying cooking. I'm not that person who wouldn't like it. I hated kitchen in general. But now I find myself enjoying it more. I love when, friends are over and you can feed them something because it makes me kind of connect with them from that part of me.
Yeah.
I can like
Yeah.
give my friends also the exposure to that kind of cuisine, to that kind of flavors. So yeah, definitely like, making new place your home and still bringing like these small elements of home in our like in our day to days kinds of helps me ground, kind of helps me kind of settle into my new space because it's I'm very new here. But like yeah, that is going to be a very important driving factor. And as we mentioned about when we went for one of those networking events, they also, all of them ended up saying food.
Yes.
And yeah, like we all walk with food. And definitely having said that, I am waiting to try some Sri Lankan food. Hopefully we can travel to Toronto, which is closer
Ooh.
to us.
Yeah.
and try some Sri Lankan food.
Exactly. Eating that meal together is my way of, or at least having a shared meal with people that I care about is my way of keeping home alive, right? Because maybe home isn't supposed to be one place. For
Yeah,
some people it is, and I genuinely am not sure how their experience is like. I'm very curious to speak to someone who's probably lived in in the same town or the same state and lived there for
true.
their whole life and adapted their lives, because we have such a unique variety of experiences where I think the word that you referenced in our comments for this podcast is a mosaic. Like, because you're
Yeah,
talking about a combination of different things, right? We have
yes,
different kitchens, we have different conversations, different people from diverse backgrounds. All of
yes,
them are kind of brought in together and turn into this beautiful art piece that represents home, that defines
yes.
home, right? To
Mm-hmm.
me, that's the definition of home. And I'm sure if we ask somebody else who's never kind of traveled out of their home country or state, I wonder what their home and definition of home might be like versus how we've been interpreting our home version, you know?
Yeah. If somebody is listening to us who kind of doesn't resonate with us kind of changing home every decade, I'm going to say, like with my experience, it was every
It's true.
decade. If there's somebody, do let us know what it feels and what it
Yes.
means when we say the word home. What actually kind of makes you go back? And if you've still been in the same town, same city, like since you're born till today, we would really love to hear what you have to say about home.
Yeah, because home to us hasn't been about belonging to one place. It's been about learning to love every different changing environment and finding something that stays constant.
Uh-huh.
So, and I like to kind of end this kind of thought with saying overall, all of it comes down to I've decided that my physical body is my home. Like, that's my like, I always have this comes with me everywhere, right?
Uh-huh.
This body shows up everywhere. And this body is the reason why I get to hear things, taste things, touch things, hug someone, and experience something. So I have been, to answer your question like a minute ago, like, what's home to you? I guess as I'm engaging in this conversation and talking more about it, it keeps coming back to me as like, no, home is this body. This is the vessel, this like particular body that stayed with me my whole life. I have learned to make this the, the main home base. And then that way, everything else is replaceable, like everything else can come and go. I still have a constant, I still have a steady foundation, and that's my body.
Definitely. Thank you so much for putting it in beautiful words because I completely 100% am walking out from this conversation, taking what my home is, and I'm going to 100% agree with you. It's us. It's my body. It's who I am as a person that brings that vibe of home around
Mm,
me. And yes, other things, as you said, are replaceable. They'll come and go. It's like weathers. There
yes.
will be different changes, but the one thing that is constant is my body. It's me
Mm,
as an individual that makes something a home. So, yeah, thank
mm,
you so much for that, right? It's making me reflect as well onto these small things. Yes, it has
yeah.
been me. Though I have changed every few years, it's
Right.
still me who is growing and who is evolving and still
Yeah.
making the space around me home.
Home. Absolutely. All right. So if you've made it this far, thanks for hanging out with us. We hope it made you feel a little more seen. And if there was anything that you felt like we missed or maybe we could have added, please let us know in the comments. Share your experience and let us know how you define home. What does it mean to you?
Until next time, stay real, stay honest.